What's up, everybody? Thank you guys for visiting my channel. Hope you guys are having a great day in spite of all the chaos and the quarantine of COVID-19. But I figured that since everybody was kind of, stuck at home for the most part, that this would be a really good time to do a video that I've been thinking about and been wanting to do for quite a while now. And that is a top 20 list of movies that the majority of people seem to hate, but I actually enjoy. So, uh, basically, what how this is going to work is, I've compiled this list of 20 movies that I actually enjoy, but either the majority of fans didn't really like it got a lot of backlash, or it's got a pretty low Rotten Tomato score. So those are kind of the things that I used to gauge, while I was putting this list together, is the tomato meter, the fan reaction, and then my reaction as far as like how different it seems to be between those things. So we've got a list of these 20 movies here, and we're going to disagree on that, but that's good. That's going to be fun because it's going to create really good conversation. So let me know what you guys think about these movies. Give me your reactions in the comment section down below, and we'll have a good, lively discussion about this. All right. So, first on my list of top 20, coming in at number 20 at the very bottom, is Justice League. And this movie is a wonderful prime example of what happens whenever a movie studio abandons their original plan for a cinematic universe. Because this movie is it is a hot mess, and that's the reason why that is down at the bottom of the list, is down at number 20, because the margin of how much I enjoy this movie versus how much other people hate this movie is smaller. So you kind of understand where that is. But I still overall pretty much I do enjoy this movie. First of all, I love this poster. This is one of the best movie posters I've ever seen. I actually own this poster. That's how much I enjoy it. I love all the actors. Ben Affleck is still my favorite Batman out of all of them. I really enjoy his portrayal of Batman. Henry Cavill is the best Superman we've ever seen, probably ever will see, and that's my personal opinion. But I really, really enjoy him. Gal Gadot is a great Wonder Woman. Jason Momoa is an awesome Aquaman. Ray Fisher is amazing Cyborg, and Ezra Miller has done a fantastic job as the Flash. But you know, there are a lot of problems with this movie. I think the thing that bothers me the most about this movie is just how how jumbled it is, because it's very obvious that there was an alternate plan, an alternate idea, and I'm kind of referring to the Snyder cut in this, as far as whenever that Batman v Superman ends, and then we pick up into Justice League. Justice League is very different. And Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, those feel like like they belong together. And then you get Justice League coming in, and it just kind of feels off. And there are a lot of problems there. Plus, there's all the rumors that the movie was rushed to get put out. They wanted to get it put out at the end of that year so that the board members would get their bonuses and everything like that. So there's a lot of problems with things like that. Of course, the way that Zack Snyder was treated was not correct, and then they bring in Joss Whedon to finish the movie and do a bunch of reshoots, and really it wasn't even, they made it out like they were finishing the movie, but it wasn't really that. They really just did a complete gutting and overhauling of this movie and changed it a lot. And then you've got a lot of really bad CGI with Henry Cavill's upper lip with the mustache and everything like that, and all the debacle with that because he was filming and working on Mission Impossible at the time, and his contract there would not allow him to shave his mustache because the character was requiring it for Mission Impossible. So they did all that, and again, with it being rushed to try to get it put out, they didn't have enough time to work on it and get it how it needed to be. So you get that problem. And then with Steppenwolf, just his look and everything like that was still had kind of a cartoony look to it, but there's a lot of really good points to this. I mentioned all the actors. You've got amazing actors in this movie that are portraying their characters to the best of their abilities. We get some really good moments between Batman and Wonder Woman. We get a cool fight between Superman and the rest of the Justice League. And I mean that scene where that it's really subtle, but he looks at Flash while Flash is doing is super speeding, and this is the first time that Flash has ever encountered anybody almost as fast as him. And we get a lot of really cool post-credit scenes, and one of them, my favorite one, of course, is whenever that Joe Manganiello's Deathstroke comes and visits Lex Luthor on the yacht, and they're setting up the Injustice League and all of that stuff there. And so, while this movie has a lot of problems, for me, it was still really enjoyable. And it's heartbreaking to me because I do want to see the Snyder Cut. I would have preferred to have seen that. And I think that it would have just been better if they had continued, because we've seen all the reports that Zack Snyder had a 5-movie plan for this, and that's very clear to me. And maybe if they had just looked at it, taken a little bit of a step back and say, okay, we're still going to go forward with your plan, but we'd like you to just alter it just a little bit. Maybe make it just a little bit more joyful and happy, or something like that, just to tweak it just a little bit, and I think we would have gotten a much better Justice League movie. But anyway, Justice League is my number 20. Moving on to number 19 is Jack. Now, I know that's a very different movie, and these movies, I tried to make a list that encompassed all of the movie genres, not just comic book movies, even though that's what we mainly talk about here. But I tried to encompass all of the different movie genres, and I think I did a pretty good job with that. But number 19 is Jack. And for some reason, this movie is rated really low Rotten Tomatoes, and I've heard a lot of people, met a lot of people that have watched this movie and did not enjoy it nearly as much as I did. And I just don't understand that, because to me, this is a very heartwarming, very fun Robin Williams comedy drama that he made, and he's made several of those. And to me, this movie is just a lot of fun. It's really enjoyable, and it's got a lot of heart to it too, because you've got this kid, Jack, who has a disorder. He's got a physical disorder where that his body grows quicker and develops faster than his brain, than his mind does, and his emotions do. So he ends up being a little kid trapped in a grown man's body. And just the struggles that presents, the comedy that presents, but then also just the the ending of the story, how that he is able to take all of that, and just this really good message of, no matter what your disabilities are, no matter what shortcomings you may feel that you have, what problems you may have, you can overcome all of it, and you can be successful, and you can make something out of your life. And to me, it's a really fun, really enjoyable movie that I have a really good time with. I really enjoy it. I would not say that it's one of my favorite Robin Williams movies, but it is definitely up there. So, yeah, Jack is my number 19. All right, and coming in at number 18 is the Alicia Vikander 2017 Tomb Raider. I'll be honest with you guys, it has been a really long time since I have seen the original Tomb Raiders with Angelina Jolie, and honestly, the second one, the Cradle of Life, I've only seen parts of it. I've seen the majority of the movie, but I'd catch it on TV, little bits here and there, and just kind of pieced it all together. And those are decent movies, they're okay. So when I went and saw the remake of it with Alicia Vikander, the Tomb Raider, my expectations were pretty low. I was not expecting a whole lot out of it, but it was a movie that the trailers interested me. I liked the look that they were going for, the tone that they were going for. I liked the choice of Alicia Vikander for Lara Croft. And so I went into it and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go into this movie with an open mind and just kind of set aside everything else. And you know what? I actually really, really ended up enjoying this movie. I had a really good time with it. And so then, whenever that we hear, well, it's getting mixed reviews critically, and then it's not making a whole lot of money, it barely broke even, all these different things like that, it was kind of sad to me because I was like, well, I really enjoyed that movie. I thought it was really good. So, I mean, a Tomb Raider for me is one of those ones that's kind of puzzling because while I don't think it's a great movie, there were a couple little things that um, I remember there was one scene when they were walking through the forest where I could tell that it was a green screen. I was like, okay, they could have worked on that just a little bit there. But I really liked her character. I liked her portrayal. I liked the action and the adventure aspect to it. I thought that they did a really good job nailing all of that. And I liked the realism to it. I thought they brought a good gritty realism to it without making it dark because it didn't really need to be dark. I liked the story was good. It was solid. It wasn't anything great or spectacular, but it was good. It was interesting enough to keep me engaged and make it enjoyable and real for me. So I enjoyed it. But yeah, so number 18 for me of movies that I don't understand why people hate is Tomb Raider. All right, number 17 is The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. This one, there's a reason why this one is down at closer to the bottom of the list. And it's because this movie could also be almost be considered for me as a guilty pleasure because I see a lot of the problems that people have with this movie, but I just think I'm a little bit more gracious with it. I remember the first time that I ever watched it as a kid and really enjoyed it, but still watching it now, being a really big Sean Connery fan, really enjoying that. Um, I still really enjoy this movie. Now it is dated. That's very much the case. If you look at the CG and everything like that, it is definitely you can tell that this movie is it definitely shows its age. But there's still a lot of really good things and a lot of enjoyable aspects of this. And I always both love and hate the ending because it really felt like there was something a sequel coming around the corner, and maybe if the movie had done better we would have gotten some kind of a sequel with it. But it is what it is, and it's a fun movie. But you've got this misfit group, this really crazy group of people with all these different talents, consisting of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, a vampire lady, uh, the Invisible Man, Nemo, all of these different characters. And so you get kind of a weird Avengers vibe with it too. So, it's a fun action sci-fi movie to me. It's a movie that I can turn on and really have a good time with and really enjoy. And it's another one for me that I just don't understand why more people don't enjoy it for what it is and understanding its time, the time that it came out in. And I don't know, it's just a lot of fun for me. And I think Sean Connery is probably a big part of that because his character is really enjoyable and really likable, and you want to root for his character, you really enjoy his character, and you want to see good things happen in the movie. So for me, at least, the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen definitely makes this list, but I do understand a lot of the complaints that people have with the movie as well. Number 16. This is a movie that many of you may not have seen, but trust me, it is definitely worth checking out, and that is Dracula 2000. So, this movie was made in the early 2000s, and it features Gerard Butler playing Dracula. And for me, that was enough to get me interested and want to check this movie out. And you know what? While it is a strange movie, while it is different, and I wouldn't necessarily call it a horror movie because it's not it doesn't really have a lot of scary elements to it, but it could be considered kind of a horror action, if you want to say that. But at the end of it all, I walked away thinking, you know what? That was fun. That was a really fun, enjoyable movie. I really enjoyed that. And if you look at the Rotten Tomato score on this, it's going to be really low. But again, we're making this list. It's the top 20 movies that most people hate that I enjoyed. I don't understand it. I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed Gerard Butler's portrayal of Dracula, and I enjoyed the story that they went with it all there. It's a fun movie, it's an enjoyable movie, and while it doesn't really have a lot of horror elements to it, I thought that the story and the characters in the movie were compelling enough to have me walk away still having a good time and still really enjoying this movie. So this is one that many of y'all may not have heard of. You've probably seen the poster for it because the poster's pretty iconic, and it's a movie poster that I had seen several times before I had watched the movie, but it's probably not something that you have really checked out. So I would encourage you guys to check it out, take a look at it, and I think you might shock yourselves like I did and actually walk away enjoying this movie. But Dracula 2000 makes the list at number 16. All right, number 15. Now we're really going to start getting into some controversial stuff because my number 15 is, yep, Tom Cruise's The Mummy. Now, I know a lot of people really, really hated this movie, and this movie has become iconic for don't create a cinematic universe until you find out if your first movie is going to do good or not. But you know what? I really enjoyed The Mummy. I don't know. I really liked Tom Cruise's character in it. I liked the action in it. I thought, the girl's name is escaping me right now, but the girl that played the Mummy, I thought she did a really good job of uh, bringing a really creepy and eerie, unsettling aspect to the character. And I'm one of the ones that grew up really enjoying the Brendan Fraser mummies. I didn't really care for the third one, but the first two were really good, and I really enjoyed those. So the bar for me was set pretty high, in my estimation, for this new Mummy. And I thought they did a really good job with it. And you know what? I really enjoyed. I think the thing that I enjoyed the most about this movie was the world and the universe that they were trying to create. And I know for a while there were talks of Johnny Depp playing the Invisible Man in this universe, and then there were even talks of Dwayne the Rock Johnson being in the Wolfman remake that they were going to do. And it was really exciting for me. So I had heard all of these things, then I watched the movie. I'm like, wow, I can get on board with this. I like this world that they built. I really like Russell Crowe playing Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I like what they did there. I like this little secret cult that they've built of people that know about these monsters and hunt them and all these different things. And I really had a great time with it, and I enjoyed it. So when that monsters universe just came to a halt, it was disappointing for me because I enjoyed The Mummy, and I thought a lot of the action scenes were really good. I liked that they had some neat callbacks to the Brendan Fraser Mummy, and I like the little changes that they made to the Mummy mythology. I really enjoyed. I really thought they were good, and I thought they had a lot of really great special effects and CGI stuff. The eye split, that is really, really cool. I thought that was really neat. And then the ending, well, the ending was a little bit cheesy and a little bit corny with what they did with Tom Cruise. I still enjoyed it. I was like, okay, I see where they're going with this. I can see some really cool stuff happening with this, so I'm on board. I'm interested to see what's going to happen. Unfortunately, though, we probably never will see what was going to happen, and we're left with a what might have been, which for some of y'all are probably really happy about that and really like it, but for me, it's a disappointment. But anyway, The Mummy comes in at number 15 for me. All right, number 14. I know this one is going to cause a lot of controversy, and I know y'all probably expected this movie to be on here, but yes, it is Star Wars The Last Jedi. And the closer we get to the top 10, the more controversial this is going to be. But yes, Star Wars The Last Jedi. I really, really, really enjoyed this movie. Now, whenever I did the little video um, on kind of my thoughts on Jedi Fallen Order and then just my thoughts on Star Wars in general, you guys, if you watch that video, you know my thoughts about the sequel trilogy that we've got. I don't like the trilogy, but I like all of the movies separately as their own individual movie. I just don't like how they fit together as a trilogy. And I really think that that is more the case with The Last Jedi than any other movie, because when I first saw The Last Jedi, there were several things in it that I didn't like, and then there were things in it that I loved. And after rewatching it and seeing it more times and thinking about it, the things that I disliked, I ended up disliking less. And the things that I loved, I end up loving more. I really loved Luke's portrayal. I like what they did with his character and everything in the movie. I really enjoyed the dynamic and the relationship and the building of the characters of Rey and Kylo Ren, and how they built singularly, but then also how that they built off of each other. That was really cool, and that was really neat to me. I also liked that we got to see some new Force abilities that we hadn't really seen before, things that maybe had kind of been hinted to before, and but seeing them realized in a different way. You know, we've always known in Star Wars that characters were able to sense other force sensitive beings, and especially ones that they had a connection with. I mean, we saw that even in A New Hope with Darth Vader and Obi-Wan. But with this, seeing it, taking that and then bringing it to another ability of actually being able to kind of force see and see another person as if they were standing right in front of you, and being able to have kind of a connection there. I really enjoyed the throne room scene. Is one of the best. It is so masterfully put together. Everything that they do between the interrogation and the fight, all the choreography there is just great. The stuff with Snoke. And I think a lot of the problems that people have with episode 8 is just they started feeling like they had been betrayed, because they had expected certain things out of Star Wars and they had expected certain things out of this movie. But this movie really did a lot to subvert our expectations. And really the the one thing that I will uh, negative that I will give episode 8 is the Canto Bite stuff. I didn't really care for that. And then also just that I think there could have been a little bit better of a job of setting up things to come in episode 9, because the way episode 8 ends, it almost ends like the end of a trilogy instead of being right in the middle. So it would have been nice to have had a little bit more lead up and more anticipation for things to come. But then again, that comes into the problems of the trilogy, and whenever that you're making movies just one at a time, and well, let's make this movie and see how it goes, instead of making them with the thought of them being a trilogy. That's one of the problems that you can face coming into that. But episode 8, The Last Jedi, for me is really a lot of fun. I enjoyed everything that I saw in that. I enjoyed all the characters. I enjoyed their interactions with each other. I love the stuff with Luke. I love the stuff with Leia, with Rey, with Kylo. Poe, Finn, and Rose were kind of meh for me, but for the most part, they were okay. And just the general story that we had there, I really enjoyed it. And for me, it's one. I I think it's either number 5 or number 6 in my ranking of Star Wars movies. And I know for a lot of you that's crazy, but that's the case for me. I really enjoyed Star Wars The Last Jedi. All right, next one up. I forgot the number. I think this is 13. Yes, 13. Remember Me. This is a Rob Pattinson movie, and this is a movie that he made. Um, I'm trying to remember if he made this while he was making the Twilight movies or if it was just directly after. He either had like one more movie to make with Twilight or he had just finished making them. But either way, I had the only thing that I had ever seen Rob Pattinson in was Twilight. So whenever I came into this movie, this was a movie that I was like, "Oh, great. This is going to be awful." And I gave it its fair shot and I watched the movie and it has become one of my favorite romantic dramas. Now, I told you guys I was going to have a lot of I was going to try to get every category in here. So, checking the box on this one too. But Remember Me, it's not a very critically acclaimed movie, but I really enjoyed what they did with this movie. I really enjoyed the dynamic between Rob Pattinson. I'm forgetting the girl's name, the actress that plays alongside him. I'm forgetting her name, but both of them, their dynamic, their relationship is all really good. And then also just the relationship between Rob Pattinson and his father and everything that goes on there. And it tells a really good story about love, and it tells a really good story about bitterness. And it does a really good job of showing how those two very passionate, very aggressive emotions can play off of each other, and how that bitterness, if not checked, if not put into check and balanced, will affect every relationship that you're in. And then ultimately telling the story of forgiveness and embracing that and embracing love instead of bitterness and anger. And so to me it told a really good, really uh, compelling story that I think everybody needs to hear. And to me it was just really enjoyable and it really hit home, and I enjoyed the ending even though it was bittersweet. I enjoyed that and the little reveal at the end, but overall this was a good movie to me. This is a movie that you may not have checked out, and for those of you that are skeptical about Rob Pattinson being our new Batman and questioning his acting abilities, this is definitely a movie that I think you should check out, because I think you will really see that he is a good actor and there's a lot there that he can bring to the table. So this is definitely one that you should put on the list. All right, number next is Terminator Genisys, or as some people say, Terminator Genisys. Uh, Again, this is a really controversial movie, and I know a lot of people really hated it, and there are a lot of problems with this movie that I can understand. And the biggest problem to me was the marketing. This is a really good example of a movie that was ruined by its marketing. And even just by the poster here that we get, there's too much revealed. There's too much going on. And this because you've got a good story, you've got good actors. Emilia Clarke, I really, really liked her as Sarah Connor. I thought she did an excellent job, because that's a really hard job to replace Linda Hamilton. She has become so iconic in that role, and replacing her is very, very difficult. So I enjoyed her as that character, as Sarah Connor. Jai Courtney, I thought he did fine as uh, Reese. As Reese, I thought he did just fine as that character. I know a lot of people really don't like Jai Courtney. I thought it was fine. I thought he did a good job with what he was given. It was good enough for me. And I really enjoyed Arnold's job in this movie and how well he did. And so you've got a good story and you've got good actors, but the entire story of the movie just by watching the trailers and just by seeing the promotions for it. This movie was completely ruined and spoiled in its marketing. And I don't have a problem with John Connor being made to be kind of the villain in the movie, but if you're going to do that, then that needs to be something that you keep secret. That needs to be something that is withheld until you actually watch the movie. And I think if this movie had been marketed better, it would have been received better. But people came into it and they watched it, and everything they had seen in the trailers, you knew every little beat, every little thing that was going to be happening in this movie before you sat down and watched it. And that is a problem. But for me, I was able to put that aside and I was still able to enjoy it for what it was, even though I recognize that that's a problem. And I do think that it caused a lot of people to not really be able to enjoy this movie as much as maybe they would have. But for me, I was able to put it aside, and I still walked away having a good time and enjoying it for what it was, for the movie that it was. All right, number 11, and our last one before we get into the top 10 is Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. I've heard a lot of people say that this movie ruined their childhood because of what they did with the dinosaurs and the different things there. And I can understand that to a degree. I guess I can kind of see where they're coming from with this, but for me, the Jurassic Park series had become stale. And I still enjoyed them. I enjoyed the first Jurassic Park, the other two park movies, two in The Lost World, and then Jurassic Park 3 were kind of throwaway for me. And then the first Jurassic World, I thought was really good, but it was kind of a retelling of Jurassic Park, if you really want to get technical. But I still enjoyed that movie quite a bit. But it felt like the same beats every time. Come to island with dinosaurs. Dinosaurs exist? Yes, they exist. Oh my, let's look at the herbivores. Wow, isn't this cool? Oh, now it's carnivores. Now things are so bad. Oh, I guess we shouldn't have invented dinosaurs. Okay, lesson learned. Let's go back to real world. And it just seemed like it was the same thing over and over and over and over. And so with Fallen Kingdom, it felt like they had done something a little bit different, because now it was going into more of, okay, yes, dinosaurs have exist, but now what are the consequences of dinosaurs existing in the real world? It felt like they took that next step of, okay, dinosaurs exist, we've established that, so now what is the world like now that we have that? And some of that is kind of a sad reality, because you have these amazing dinosaurs, these amazing creatures, and you have people that want to profit off of it. You have people that see it as a way of making money, and you have natural disasters, and so you have these amazing creatures once now dying again and becoming close to being extinct yet again. And then you come into the story of, well, what would happen if these dinosaurs escaped into the real world? How would our world look if these dinosaurs were not just isolated to an area where humans weren't? What if they were living among us again? And so taking that next step and establishing an actual Jurassic World living up to the title, and then hopefully we'll see what's going to be coming next. And then we got the Battle of Big Rock, which was really cool. I can't wait to see what comes next, and I thought Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom did a good job. Moving into the top 10, our top 10 starts off with I Am Legend. Now, Will Smith is one of those actors to me that I honestly don't know if there's any movie that he has made that I did not enjoy. Pretty much everything, as far as I can think, everything that he's made, I've really enjoyed. But I Am Legend is one of my favorites that he's made. And I've heard a lot of people say, well, that's because you didn't read the book. You don't know what the book was based off of. And that's true. I haven't read the book that it was based off of. But if I'm evaluating it just by the movie and everything there, Will Smith does a excellent job. You really get to see how good of an actor he really is, just portraying the emotions of being alone. And you know what? Now that we're in kind of a quarantine now and we are having to deal with a lot of isolation, we can maybe start kind of sympathizing with how he felt and some of the things that he was dealing with and just everything that goes along with that. And still trying to maintain hope and trying to keep some semblance of a normal life and trying to recover and live out, and not just surviving to survive, but actually trying to live a life and trying to fix a problem. And the relationship between him and his dog Sam, and of course the heart-wrenching death there that we have. This movie to me is just it's powerful, it's moving, and it's very entertaining and fun to watch, but it's also, gripping at the same time. You're not just getting a normal, just paint by numbers action movie. You're getting an action movie that has a lot of heart and has a really good actor and has a really good story and does a really great job of pulling you in and making something that you can really enjoy. So this is definitely one of the ones. This is why this is up in the top 10, because this is one I really don't understand why people don't enjoy. I think this is a great movie, and if you haven't seen it, you really need to give this a watch, because I think you will really enjoy it and it will show you just how good of an actor Will Smith is. All right, number 9, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Wow, I remember how hated this movie was. Man, oh. You know what? The first Amazing Spider-Man is a great, great movie. I really, really loved that movie. I loved Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker, as Spider-Man, and growing up with Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man, and growing up with those movies and him being our Spider-Man. I remember when we got the news that Spider-Man 4 had been canceled. I was so devastated. I just could not believe it. No, they canceled Spider-Man 4. No. I need more. And I mean, this is even after Spider-Man 3 and how terrible of a movie that was, and still wanting to see Spider-Man 4. But then getting the word that yes, it's been canceled, and then later, now we're getting a reboot. We're getting The Amazing Spider-Man. And I was so, no, I won't watch it. I don't want to see this. Tobey Maguire is my Spider-Man. I'm not doing it. And then saw the trailers. Okay, that actually looks pretty good. Kind of want to see that. And then watched the movie and loved the first Amazing Spider-Man. Enjoyed it so much. And coming into the sequel, really, really enjoying that as well. And while it has its problems, yes, it is a little overstuffed, and they were a little bit too ambitious, and they did recreate some of the same mistakes, albeit not to the same extreme as Spider-Man 3. But bringing in too many villains, having it be a little bit overstuffed and overcrowded, and not being able to give everybody their due, this still is really a good movie. It's not a perfect movie, but it is good. I love his suit. There's a lot of great action. I thought Electro was fine. Yeah, he's a little quirky, he's a little weird. It didn't bother me though. I really liked Harry Osborn, not the Green Goblin, but I did like Harry Osborn. The Green Goblin was very rushed, but with what they did there. But the best part of this movie is the relationship between Spider-Man and Gwen. and then the tragedy that of course befalls there. And watching Spider-Man deal with the great power comes great responsibility, and dealing with the responsibility of his powers and coming to grips with who he is and why he is who he is and what he has to do with his powers and his abilities, the responsibility that he has, even if he comes to a loss in his life, even then he still has a responsibility to others. He still has to keep going, and has to deal with those things. So I really enjoyed it. I thought Spider-Man 2 is a good movie. It's not my favorite Spider-Man, but I did really enjoy it. Number 8, Alien versus Predator. Uh, I'm trying to remember. I think I had seen the Predator franchise before I had seen the Alien franchise, but I've really enjoyed both of them. And so whenever that we found out that we were going to be getting an Alien versus Predator, and this is back in the early to mid 2000s, I was stoked. I was so excited to see, man, we're going to get these two heavyweights of the horror franchise, the horror genre meet up. They are coming together. They're going to duke it out. They're going to fight. And it is going to be awesome. Kind of a Freddy versus Jason type thing that we got as well. But I really enjoyed the story that they did with that. I thought it was intriguing. Oh wow. So the original pyramid, and wow, it was built by the Predators, and they used it as kind of an arena for this crazy brawl that they do every 10 years. They come back, and every 10 years they fight the aliens, and it's just it's this trial. So they're building off that mythology that we've already seen with the Predators, and they introduced some new weapons that the Predators had, and there's a lot of great action. There's a lot of great action scenes and choreography and a lot of great fights, and it's just a fun movie. And honestly, I don't understand why people can enjoy the Fast and the Furious and all of its quirky weirdness and just unbelievability that it's got, but they can't enjoy Alien versus Predator. I'm sorry, I said it, but I don't see how you can not enjoy Alien versus Predator if you like Fast and the Furious. Like, this is definitely up for you. At least to me, it would seem like. But this is a fun movie. It's really enjoyable. It's got a lot of great action. It's got an interesting story. There's not really any well-known actors in this movie, but it's still a lot of fun, and I thought I really enjoyed it. I watch it, I probably watch it at least once a year, just because it's a fun movie to watch, and I have a great time with it. So if you haven't checked it out, this is one you should definitely check out as well. All right, kind of staying in the horror genre a little bit is Van Helsing. And this movie probably has my favorite werewolf in it. I really enjoyed what they did with the werewolf there, and I'm a big werewolf guy. So werewolves are my favorite monsters. So Van Helsing was a lot of fun for me. And the story that they told there with, of course, Frankenstein and Frankenstein's monster, and then with Dracula wanting to rule the night, wanting to rule the world and bring his children to life using the science of Dr. Frankenstein, everything that goes in there. So they set up a lot of new mythology, and they did a lot of twists on it to bring everything together. And what you end up getting is just kind of a wild, wacky, fun roller coaster ride of a horror action movie. And you've got, of course, Hugh Jackman and Kate Beckinsale playing the two lead roles in here, and both of them do a really good job with that. And you get some of the backstory of Van Helsing himself, but just there's a lot of fun in this movie. There's a lot of fun to be had. And it's, to me, is a movie that I have really enjoyed. I've enjoyed it for a long time. Again, it's got my favorite portrayal of werewolves. We actually get to see 3 different werewolves in the movie, and the werewolf actually plays a pretty big role in the movie, and I really just enjoy everything that they did with that. So for me, Van Helsing makes it into the top 10 of movies that I love that most people just seem to hate. Coming in at number 6 on our list is another Robin Williams movie, Bicentennial Man. And this is the movie that tells the story of a robot who desires more than anything to be human. And he goes through his quest, he goes through the story and his life of trying to become human and everything that it means. And he begins to understand that there's more than just the mathematics of it, of your looks and a free will and all of these different things. It's more than just owning a house. It's more than just uh, having the right to choose. That there are so many different aspects of what it really means to become human, and him going through the quest of that and having that desire to become human. And then also, for me, the ending of this movie is so poignant and so powerful, because as he's waiting, as he has finally made the decision to make himself mortal, that he now has the ability to die. He no longer will live forever. And he's waiting for the council to reach the decision of whether or not to rule him as human. His entire robotic life, he lived by being given orders and being given permission of things to do. And so he's still been looking for that validation. And when he finally comes to peace with, you know what, I don't need other people to validate me. I know who I am. I know what I am. And I'm at peace with who I am. I'm at peace with what I am and at what I have become. And spoiler alert, he dies before hearing their verdict. But it was powerful to me because he had come to the place where he no longer needed to hear their verdict. He knew who he was, he knew what he was, and he was at peace with that. So for me, that was a really good moment in the movie. I really enjoyed it, and it was a lot of fun. But it really makes you think too. And I really enjoyed Robin Williams' portrayal in the movie. I enjoyed what he did with the character. And I know a lot of people don't really care for it. They don't really like it. And it is a slower paced movie. There isn't a lot of funny stuff in it. And there's not any action or anything like that, but it is just a good movie to watch and think about. All right, coming in at number 5, we're in the top 5 now, is The Last Action Hero. And yes, as the title implies, this is a very, very heavy action movie, and it is amazing. There is so much action in this movie, but it is also 100% an action comedy, because there is a lot of satirical, tongue-in-cheek knocks and jabs at um, action movie tropes, and then even Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of jabbing and making fun of himself and some of the stuff that has happened in some of his movies. And it's just a lot of fun. It's a really enjoyable movie. And I mean, what's not to love about Arnold Schwarzenegger playing an action adventure cop? I mean, it's so much fun. And it really just does a good job of knowing what kind of movie it is, knowing what it's trying to do, and not taking itself too seriously. It is definitely, to me, in the veins of kind of a Bad Boys type movie, that action comedy, that fun, rompy, crazy action, that you just really have a good time with. And it's so much fun. I don't think a lot of people have checked this out or given it a chance, but if you enjoy Arnold Schwarzenegger, if you enjoy action comedy movies, then you will love this movie. It is a blast. So much to love in it. Quirky, crazy storyline. It is so 90s. It is unreal. I mean, it's just, to me, it's perfect. It's just an amazing, fun ride of a movie. And if you haven't checked it out, I really think you would enjoy it. This is definitely one that you should check out while you've got some time here in quarantine. So give it a look. All right, guys, into our top five. And number five is 7 Pounds, another Will Smith movie. This time it is a dramatic romance, and I told you guys before that Remember Me was one of my favorite romantic movies. Well, this one is actually my favorite, and it tells the story of a man who is riddled with guilt. He is riddled with depression due to the fact of having accidentally caused a car wreck, and because of that accidental car wreck causing the deaths of several people, one of them being his wife. And so he devises a plan that he is going to donate bone marrow, plasma, and then towards the money and towards the end, he will commit suicide and have his eyes and his heart, all these different things donated to people as a way of trying to make amends. And he's doing all of these things out of guilt. He's doing it all out of that spirit of depression. But while trying to find out about all these people that he's going to help, he ends up falling in love with one of the women that he is going to help. And so his his whole mindset, everything shifts, and it becomes not about, well, I'm doing this out of guilt. It becomes, I'm doing this out of love. And it really shows just a wonderful, raw emotion of love. And it deals with so many different emotions, and it deals with so many different aspects of life. And I really enjoyed it because it did show that evolution of his character, but it also did show, what is love about. And love is not about what you can get from someone, but love is giving. And so at the end, he is willing to do anything. He is willing to give up everything, his own life, for the person he loves, to save her and to help her. And so to me, it's a wonderful story. It's got great acting in it, and it's got, yeah, with Will Smith, Rosario Dawson. It's just such a good movie. If you haven't seen it, I mean, it is so worth your while. It is such a great movie, and I really, really don't understand why more people don't enjoy it. But again, I'm kind of one of those ones that I really enjoy a good sad ending. I don't know why that is, but this one, it really pulls on the heartstrings, and it's just a really good movie. So definitely check it out. Number three. Now, we talked about Justice League. Let's talk about its predecessor, Batman vs. Superman. When this movie came out, I had heard so many people saying, oh, it's awful, it's terrible, you can't understand anything going on, it's just a mess, it's a terrible movie, I don't know what they did. And I could not believe it. I could not believe that this movie that I had been anticipating, that still has one of the best movie trailers for a movie, I could not believe that this movie could be that terrible. So I immediately went and watched this movie. And you know what? I loved it. I enjoyed it so much, and it made me, whenever I had first gotten done watching it, it made me so angry because I could not understand why people were complaining about this movie. I just thought, there's no way that people are this stupid, because if you pay attention to the movie, to me, this is my opinion, I have since toned down a little bit, but if you pay attention, this movie does a really good job of piecing everything together. I really thought uh, that the storyline was good. I enjoyed everything they did. Now, some of the editing was cut together a little bit choppy, and I think the ultimate edition of Batman vs. Superman is much better and has a better cadence and flow. I will say that. And whenever I watch this, I always watch the ultimate cut. I don't watch the theatrical version. I like the longer, more fleshed out version. But everybody complained about Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, and while he is very quirky and very, out there and eccentric and everything, I liked what they did with his character because while I was watching the movie, I really got the impression that all of that eccentricness, all of those things that he does, it is a coping mechanism that he has developed. One, to fool people, to fool the public about the kind of person that he really is, how really deep, dark, sinister, and just messed up this guy is. But then number two, because he has dealt with a lot of trauma from uh, being abused as a child by his father and all the things that he had to deal with. And then you, because of all of that, you get this warped mindset that he has that, well, if anyone with power must be corrupt, because that's what he has seen, that's what he has been exposed to. And then you've got Batman, who has just lost faith in humanity. He doesn't, he has lived putting bad people away, putting criminals away, just to see them trick the system and get out again and go back and just making things worse. He has experienced loss at the death of Robin, and we see that little monument that he's got there, and he's holding on to all of this bitterness and this anger, and it has made it, like as Alfred said, it made him cruel. And so we're seeing a Batman like we've never seen before. A Batman that is just broken and has just kind of given up in a way. And he has given in more to that darkness that he has inhabited. And then we've got Superman, who is doing his best to bring hope and light to the world while everyone is trying to bring him down and pull him down and suppress all of that and everything that he is having to deal with, and the struggles that he deals with of you know of wanting to do right, of trying to do right, of trying to inspire people, but still feeling like he's falling short in that. But then the amazing part of it is that to the end of that, we see that they did find a way they found a way to win, they found a way to overcome. And then even, and by his sacrifice, him sacrificing himself, he was able to pull Batman back. And with him saying, I didn't honor him in his life, but I will honor him in his death, and redeeming him and bringing him back and giving him hope. And, that's what it was all about. And even Zack Snyder himself said that at the end of the movie, that dirt rising on the coffin was supposed to be, yes, it was showing what, giving us a hint of what would be to come in Justice League, but it was ultimately therefore a symbolic reference of there is hope, there is more to come, there's light at the end of this tunnel, there is more to it. And I know it is the tone is a little bit darker, and I know that with this is a story that you definitely do have to pay attention to. But when you pay attention to everything that's going on, all the little details in this movie, when it comes to the third act and everything that's in there, it is so rewarding. There's so much, and everything falls in line that, he's, oh man, that Lex has set all of this up. He set all of this up from the beginning. And then with the fight with Doomsday, and I really thought they did a good job with Doomsday and how they used him. I thought that was really good. The fight between Batman and Superman was good, and the conflict as it built up and built up and built up between the two of them. And I really really enjoy Batman versus Superman. So that one is definitely one that I just do not understand why people do not enjoy, and that's why it's in the top 3. All right, number 2, our runner-up, it's another Ben Affleck movie. Everybody hating on Ben Affleck in these superhero roles. Yep, it's Daredevil. Oh man, when this movie came out, Of course, Spider-Man had come out. We had gotten, I think, one of the Fantastic Fours, and of course, we've got Daredevil. And Daredevil is definitely a movie of its time. It definitely shows, as do all of the early 2000 comic book movies, they show their time and where they came out. And there are um, there is some dated CGI in this movie, but it also has one of my favorite Stan Lee cameos when he's about to walk across the street, and uh, young Daredevil throws his cane across and saves him from walking out into the middle of the street and getting hit by a bus. Of course, it's got Jennifer Garner in it playing Elektra and does a great job there. And we've got the amazing Michael Clark Duncan. And to me, he is still the best Kingpin that we've gotten. Oh, I love the introduction of him just standing there mighty and powerful, and his henchmen coming to him say, "Yeah, somebody's talking." Yeah, somebody always does. And just that power and that grit that he's got, and then Colin Farrell playing Bullseye, and just how much fun he had with that role, and is so good. Now, I do agree with everybody. I do not really care for the little park scene that they have between Ben and Electra. I don't really care for that with the jungle gyms and the seesaws and everything like that. But overall, this is a good movie, and I really do enjoy it. And we even get Jon Favreau in this movie playing a part, and we kind of start seeing some of him. And this is whenever he's starting to kind of make a place for himself. But overall, this is just a really fun, really enjoyable movie. I really like what they do with the character of Daredevil, and how that he learns justice, not vengeance. And just that one little thing there, that coming face to face with the killer of his father, the man that put that out there, whenever that he comes to the Kingpin and finally takes him down. And instead of taking his life, as he had basically decided that he would do, he opts for justice. And so, just those character moments there. Um, Again, you've got a um, great cast here, and everybody does just such a good job portraying their characters. I always have and probably always will enjoy this version of Daredevil. I really enjoyed Ben Affleck as Daredevil, and I just found it to be a lot of fun. All right, guys, this is the one we've all been waiting for. Number one. Yep. It is Man of Steel. And you guys probably could have guessed that because of the name of the channel. You know that Superman is my favorite superhero. I kind of named the channel kind of after Man of Steel. So, because it is my favorite superhero movie, and I just absolutely love this movie. It is my favorite superhero movie, and it's just perfect to me. Henry Cavill is the best Superman we've ever had. I grew up watching Christopher Reeves as Superman and really loving those Superman movies, and how they were good, but there was so much there that was untapped potential, and part of that was due just to the time that they were in, and the limitations of their technology and everything like that. And so we get Zack Snyder, who is a visionary, who is a brilliant director, and he really loves painting pictures and telling a story through the visuals. He's a very visually minded director. And every single shot of this movie is just so beautiful and so purposefully and brilliantly directed. Even whenever that Superman and Zod are fighting, and Zod crashes into uh, the little tower out in space. He crashes into the satellite out in space. If you look, that is a Wayne Tech tower, just showing things that were to come, that there was a plan of right from the beginning. It was all there. And of course, we get Michael Shannon just playing a brilliant job of General Zod and everything that's there. and just how good his performance was, especially being balanced by Henry Cavill. And then you've got the two dads. You've got Kevin Costner and you've got Russell Crowe, and playing that. And I mean, just one of the most amazing scenes in that whole movie is whenever that Kevin Costner, whenever that Jonathan Kent is telling young Clark about who he is and where he comes from, and telling him, "You are the answer. You are the answer to if we are alone in the universe." And he's coming to the realization of having to accept who he is and what he is, and what his life means, and where do I go now? And he's struggling with that, and he just asks him, he says, "Can't I just continue pretending to be your son?" And he just hugs him and he says, "You are my son." And it's so brilliant and so moving, and it's so wonderful. I love everything about it. And then, that his dad uh, sacrificed himself to 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 keep Clark's secret a secret, that he didn't want him to save him, and he made that choice. And then Clark having to live with that choice, and having to live with that guilt of watching his dad die, knowing he could do something about it, but choosing not to because he respected his father. And all of those different aspects. Of course, we got Amy Adams, who plays Lois Lane, does a great job with that. And I loved all of the action that we got in it. We got to see a truly powerful Superman like we've never seen before, and see him use all of his different abilities and everything, but then also seeing that all of his choices have consequences. And seeing a Superman that, yes, he has all of this power, but he's still, he's not perfect. He does struggle with some things. He does struggle with some choices, and he does struggle with uh, the effects of those choices. And even there at the end, whenever that he's faced with the choice, do I kill Zod or do I save this family? And I know a lot of people had a really big problem with that because, oh, Superman doesn't kill, all of these different things. And it's like, well, this is the story there. You have to take it into context. Yes, there are some things that are a little bit different from the Superman mythology there, but it's telling more of a grounded story, and it's telling more of a story of, you know of choices and consequences, telling a bigger story, because we even see that being an overflow into Batman versus Superman, and the choices that he made, and then having to deal with those, and having to make amends for those different things, and learning and growing as he goes. And then I think eventually, you come into Justice League, and he's a little bit more established, a little bit more like how we know him. And I think that would have been even more the case had we gotten the Snyder cut, because Zack Snyder himself has said that Superman would have played a bigger role than what he did originally, and all of these different things. I think we would have seen something much different. But for me, Man of Steel is just, it's so moving, it's so powerful. The soundtrack is the best out of any movie that I have ever heard. It's the only soundtrack that I actually own. It is riveting, it's amazing, and it's just the embodiment of who Superman is. And just that symbol of hope, that symbol just of he the embodiment of bravery and courage, and that desire to do the right thing, but then also you know trying to be human, but he isn't human. But he still makes mistakes, and there's all these different things. So there's so much to it. It's a deep movie. It's a rich movie to me, and I know it's divided. People tend to either love it or hate it. I think the majority of people really like Henry Cavill as Superman, but are kind of mixed on the Man of Steel. But for me, it is an awesome movie. I really, really enjoy it. Again, it's my favorite superhero movie. I will say that unashamedly. And I just really enjoy it. And that's why it is number one of my top 20 movies that most people hate. but I really enjoy. So, guys, let me know what y'all think. Again, this is going to be a list that you guys are probably going to disagree with me a lot on some of these things. Some of you might agree with me on some of them, but that's the thing about movies. While there are objective parts of them, like cinematography and acting and all those different things, the enjoyment of them is objective. You may see some things in a movie that you really enjoy that I didn't see and I didn't really enjoy, and something may hit you differently than it hits me, and they have different meanings and can hit us differently, and invoke different emotions for every person. So while there are subjective qualities, movies overall, they are objective in nature. So we're going to disagree. There's going to be things that we uh, disagree on and don't see completely eye to eye, but that's okay. If you disagree with me, please leave comments down in the comment section down below. Let me know your thoughts and let's have a discussion about it, because that's part of the fun of movies. And leave me your top 20 list of movies that most people hate that you enjoy. And until next time, keep geeking out.